power of nature in schools, but moreover that their sustainable program of free of cost to the is earned by millions of people, and she has educated millions about the sustainability, and her network about the professors who are doing great in the sustainability is bringing change and are the real change makers. So I invite the Dr. Chandrika Bahadur to share her vision of Sustainable Development Goal Academy and her future programs and her success story. Let's listen from her. I welcome you, Dr. Chandrika Bahadur. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm just going to share my screen here, and I hope that you will be able to see it.
Please.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am, we can see.
All right, great. So thank you so much. What I thought I would do in the time that I have is describe a little bit about the Academy, talk a little bit about what we are doing and why we are doing it, but then also talk a little bit about what we have learned from what we've seen happening across the world, and hopefully that will help us in a good discussion afterwards. So to start, I just want to describe a little bit about who we are. We are a non-governmental organization that was set up as the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. It was set up in 2012 at the request of Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, right after the Rio +20 summit. And the mandate of the SDSN was to build a network of universities and scientific organizations to support sustainable development. The SDG Academy was set up in 2014 as a way to utilize this network of expertise from around the world to create courses, to create educational content that can then be taught to anyone who wants to learn it, as Ravachi said, free of cost. So our vision is a world in which the Sustainable Development Goals are achieved through the efforts of today's and future generations of educators, practitioners, and citizens. And the Academy's mission is to create and bring together educational content on sustainable development, and to nurture a community of people who are engaged similarly in the same mission to prepare our young generations and future generations to work in this area. So that is our stated mission. I will not run through our milestones because they're quite specific, but just to say that we have been working now for about 8 years. We have had a lot of learnings in these 8 years, and right now we have formally reached about 600,000 enrollments around the world. Practically every country in the world we have students in. We have about 39 courses that we use for that are part of our repertoire, but we also have a community of practice which has over 50 members that regularly interact with one another and learn from one another. And we're also recently entered into collaborations to launch online master's programs, because a lot of our students have requested for a degree program that would bring together all of their learning on sustainable development. So this is a very quick snapshot of who we are. What we do is to basically bring together a lot of material on sustainable development. And we use the Sustainable Development Goals as our framework. So our topics are all linked to the goals. We create, at the core of our work, we create massive open online courses, or MOOCs, across multiple topics. These MOOCs are typically co-taught by 2 or more faculty from different parts of the world. We try and make sure that we bring people with different expertise and different perspectives from geographically distinct areas, so that our students get perspectives that are diverse and that they learn. There's no one dominant point of view that we promote, but we try and make this as geographically representative as we can. In addition to the courses, we have video series and webinars. So there are live opportunities for our students to engage with the experts that we bring on. We have a book club, which is a new product where we discuss a book with economist Jeffrey Sachs every month. And then we also have several online master's programs that we do in collaboration with different institutions around the world. We have a global schools program where young people are trained as advocates for sustainable development, and they go into classrooms and teach sustainable development in their communities and in their schools. And finally, we have launched recently something called Mission 4.7, which I'll talk about in a little while. But this is really our effort to move not away from, but in addition to our university work, to really move very much into school education and working with young children of all ages. These pictures are a reminder from 2015 when the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted. And the reason I put them up here is because this was a time of tremendous optimism for the world. These were not goals that were set out by the United Nations. These were goals that were negotiated by member states, which means that each of our countries negotiated and agreed and decided on what the goals would be. So in that sense, these were really the world's goals when they were adopted. And the thing that I think is really both wonderful about the sustainable goals, but also really difficult about the goals, is how diverse they are. So it's not only about the environment, it's not only about economic prosperity, it's not only about equity, it's not only about clean energy and water, or gender equality or education, but it is about all of these things together. So that makes the framework both a very ambitious framework, but it also makes the framework fairly complicated. And so to bring it to the level of students, particularly at the university level, where students are divided very much by program and specialization, and by definition to be a master's student is to gain mastery over a particular topic. So to work with universities to move maybe not entirely away from the focus on specialization, but to have the appreciation for these interlinkages is a challenge. And for younger children, having them understand this full breadth of issues and how these issues are related to each other makes this both a very exciting, but also a more difficult exercise. And you can see over here, when you look at, this is a report that STSN brings out every year on progress on these sustainable goals. And I've taken one table from that and put it here for you to see, which basically shows us progress on the goals across the world by region. And what you'll see here is that while there is mixed progress on many counts, there are several goals where there is pretty significant challenges around the world. And I want to highlight first reduced inequalities. So I want to highlight goal 10, where if you see this, almost every part of the world is struggling a little bit. And this is a signal to the deep structural inequities that we see in the world around us. And so that's one that is that stands out in this chart. And then of course, life on land, life below water, all of these are also where we are seeing a lot of challenges this year, but also in the past several years. So this is a picture that is not a terribly encouraging picture of the world. And it makes us ask the question, how will things change for the better? And our answer to that partially is to think about what young people learn and what young people want to do with their lives. And for us, the target 7 of SDG 4, which is the education SDG, summarizes that. And I put over here the language of target 4.7, which is to ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education and lifestyles, respect for human rights and gender, and a promotion of culture of peace and nonviolence, and global citizenship. So I think each one of these in themselves underpins what sustainable development stands for. And I think the ambassador actually just now described it very well when he said that they wanted to create a generation of nature lovers. And I think at the end of the day, that is very much in line with what Target 4.7 is trying to do. So we at the STG Academy have teamed up with UNESCO, the Ban Ki-moon Center on Global Citizens, and Columbia University to bring together a coalition of leadership as well as technical expertise on how do we promote 4.7. We are trying to get, we're trying to work with ministers of environments and education to redouble their commitment to achieving 4.7. But effectively what this means at the country level is how do we think about what our young children are exposed to inside the classroom and outside, and how can that change so that the objectives and the goals of the sustainable development framework is embedded and central to their way of thinking. From our perspective and from what we have learned over these last 8 years, there are several levers of change, and I want to just speak a little bit to each of them. The first lever, I would say, is what children learn. So curriculum is absolutely critical, and what we have seen around the world is that there is very limited integration of curriculum around issues of sustainable development in what children are learning on a day-to-day basis. We also know that our teachers are overburdened. And so to the extent that we can make it easy for them to teach new things, they will adopt new innovative curricula faster. So I think that is one very clear lever of change, which is the actual content of what children are learning. The second lever of change is what happens inside the classrooms. You can have very interesting content, but then if it is learned pretty much as a lecture from the teacher and the student sits and makes notes, it's not entirely clear that it'll get assimilated or it'll get discussed. But where this learning can become real, where it can become integrated into the lives and the realities of children, it is likely to have a lot more staying power and a lot more memory recall from the students as they're growing older. The third lever of change is the community that children live in. So school is, yes, where part of learning happens, but a much larger part of learning happens within the society and within the community in which they live. And we have seen this from around the world, where there is an appreciation for nature, where there is an appreciation for social inclusion within communities. Children grow up internalizing these values much more easily than in places where these conversations are missing. The fourth is the power of role models, which is what is it that you and I as citizens are doing to promote sustainable development? Because children watch and learn much more than what we say to them. It's what we do that affects their actions. And so to the extent that we can be action oriented, that we can take steps within our ecosystems, within our communities, within our countries, to promote sustainable development, children will follow those examples. And finally, there are choices that we make, choices of consumption, choices of production, of political leadership in different countries, and of priorities. And I think as citizens and as voters, we have the ability around the world to decide who represents us and which priorities are given importance. And I think these are levers also not just for what children learn, but these are also levers for whether or not as a global society, we will make progress on building a more sustainable future or not. And so the last question that comes up is, what can each of us do? And here again, when we look at what we've seen with the Academy, there are a few things that I think resonate independent of the country that we work in. The first is seriously rethinking how we teach and what we teach. And I think here again, I think the example of Costa Rica was wonderful because Mr. Ambassador, you started on this project many decades ago. So you are you're light years ahead of where the rest of the world is on this. But you did rethink what was being taught and how it was being taught very early on. The second is teaching children from a very young age about interdependence of different issues, how health relates to education, how that relates to the environment, how that relates to poverty reduction, and explaining to them the importance of thinking about complexity theory. And what we have found is that from a very, very young age, children are very comfortable with these ideas if they are taught properly. So these are not topics that are hard for them to grasp if they are exposed to them fairly early on. That is my third point. We need to start early. Children at very young ages have an intuitive grasp for many of these things that we then unlearn through our education system over time. But if we can actually appeal to their instinctive love for nature, which we believe all children have, we believe those messages and those lessons then stay with them for the rest of their lives. The fourth element is that these are not abstract concepts. They are not theoretical concepts, and they cannot really be taught only in the classroom. They have to be, you have to take children out of the classroom, close to nature, expose them to nature, allow them to learn by touch, by feel, by smell, by taste, and have them really experience the power and the wonder of nature themselves before they become committed to a sustainable future. The next point is that there is a lot of misinformation in the world around.
Ma'am, can sum up, please? Time is coming.
Yes, I'm just about, this is my last slide. Yes. So we need to trust science and evidence, and everything that we do at the Academy is grounded in science and knowledge from around the world. We need to involve communities in education. I've already said this, that the shared values and goals and aspirations of communities then help us in making sure that this learning is sticky. It stays with the children as they're growing up. And finally, I think helping rethink and helping children think and inquire and question the way we value care, the way we value natural capital, the way we value equity and equality in our economic systems is absolutely essential to helping them conceive of an alternate reality. I will stop here now and turn it back to you.
So thank you so much, ma'am. The best part of that, the table you have shown, the goal number 4 was the minimum red dots. Only Oceania region was having a red dot, and most of region was having yellow. So these goal number 4 is achievable before the 2030. Every part of the world. This is the your chart is saying, and you are contributing a lot. And through SDG Academy, you are influencing every university, every school to adopt sustainability and to achieve the goal number 4 before 2030. Thank you so much for your contribution and your work toward sustainable development goals. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we have next speaker, Gayatri Raghawaji. She is